Well, welcome to Intro to Cherwell. This is the first of the 4 total classes that we've scheduled for this month, and they'll be scheduling additional classes, same ones for next month. And then as this goes on through the various phases, they'll be scheduling even more classes for training for all the different aspects of Cherwell. So you're right at the beginning. You actually have the honor of taking this class after Cherwell has already gone live. So the production environment is actually running right now, and pieces of Cherwell are being used by various teams across campus. So if you wanted to, you could leave this class and go back to your desk and log into Cherwell and download it, start getting in there today. My name is Jordan Jeffers. I'm a trainer with Administrative Technologies. I've been here for maybe a year and a half, something like that. Most of that time has been with Campus Solutions. So I've been working with Cherwell for maybe the last 2 months or so. And what we're going to do today is going to be just big picture kinds of things, how to navigate around, stuff like that. The way we're going to do this is we're going to go through sort of a presentation together where we're going to get into Cherwell and do some stuff, move around in there. And then we're going to take a break, and then you're going to come back and you're going to do your activities, your activity guide. What are we talking about today? Today we are going to cover, like I said, basic stuff. So we're going to first start out with some terminology and vocab kinds of things, which is super interesting, I know, but it's also super important for you to understand what all the different labels and things in Cherwell are even talking about. So we're going to go through that sort of thing. Can I ask just a brief question? Could you raise your hand if you have ITIL basic certification or higher? Okay, so most of us. So for those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, ITIL is just a set of best practices for IT management, and Cherwell was specifically designed with ITIL in mind. So everything in Cherwell is set up to kind of match ITIL best practice processes. So we're going to go through some of that ITIL terminology for those of you who have never heard of it, and for those of you who have, if you're like me, it's been maybe a year and a half or more since you've looked at any of it, so it'll be kind of review for you as well. Then we're going to go into Cherwell and navigate around. We're actually going to search for records. I'm going to teach you how to save searches. And then we're going to look at modifying your dashboard, looking at some reports and some help documentation. So all that kind of basic stuff that'll apply across the board. What I want to have you do now is to actually try to log into Cherwell. So to log into Cherwell, you're going to see along the left-hand side in your desktop icons a blue circle that has a little white wave or wind or something going through it. It says Cherwell Service Management. Go ahead and double click on that icon, and then it's going to ask you what environment you want to connect to, and there's only one there, ISU Test, so go ahead and click the OK button to connect to that one. And then you should get a login screen pop open, and you'll need to log in with your normal ULID and password, but you will also need to put in the prefix ADILSTU / in front of your username. ADILSTU / and then your normal ULID, and then the password is your normal password. So I will log in as well. So again, this is kind of the stuff we're covering today. Just a word of caution for those of you who have logged in. This is the test environment, but the emailing features are turned on. So if you are like me and you like to kind of play around with the system while you're in training, just be careful, because if you create a ticket for a customer, that customer will get emailed indicating that they just got a ticket created for them. Okay? If you create something for a IT team, that team will get an email about whatever you just created, because those auto features are turned on. And before we even get into the content, I want to go over what's really in scope and what's not in scope, both for this training and for the other trainings you're going to have. So in scope for this kind of training are general sorts of things. So generally how Cherwell works, configurations that apply to all teams, the experience of all customers across the university. What is not in scope are the things specific to your team. Everybody has their own team. We all have different processes across campus. I don't know your processes. Okay, so I can't tell you how exactly this tool is going to affect your job or your team or your customers. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and talk about what Cherwell is. So Cherwell is the new information technology service management tool that we'll be implementing. So you'll hear me call it Cherwell or the ITSM or whatever. It means the same thing. And can I see a show of hands who here uses either Magic or Altiris currently? Everybody, okay. So This will be replacing those softwares, right? We'll all be moving to one central application. So although we're going to continue to have the same sort of IT structure we've always had, right? Our sort of decentralized structure with different IT teams serving different sorts of customers, we're all now going to be in one tool. And all those different teams were a part of the project team that picked this tool and that has been making decisions about configuring the tool, and will continue to make decisions about changing the tool in the future. So it's going to be more of a campus-wide effort here. So there are two groups of people that use this, customers and users. So a customer is basically everyone across campus. Everyone is a customer. A customer is just someone who receives IT services. So I'm a customer because I get services from AT Endpoint Support. They support my laptop and all my equipment and all that kind of stuff. I am also a user, and that's the second group. And users are primarily IT support staff, but they also include people outside of technology who assist with tickets. So people in facilities and HR and registrar's office, admissions, that kind of stuff. Okay, so there are named users that are throughout those departments, but for the most part, users are IT support staff. So the customers will use Cherwell, but they'll use it in a particular way, and that's in the self-service portal. So they'll log in, they'll go to a website, they'll log into the portal, they'll be able to report incidents there, request services, they'll be able to search for knowledge articles. The system will actually recognize who they are, and it'll know who their support team is, and so it'll show them the services that that support team offers rather than other services that they don't have access to. So they'll use the self-service portal, and users, of course, will use Cherwell itself, the client that you're using right now. This is, by the way, I took this from this picture from one of the AT annual reports a few years ago. It's 1985, if any of you are wondering. So there are 5 main Cherwell processes. They're going live in this first phase and a half to 2 phases, however you want to count it. And these are all ITIL processes. So what I mentioned at the beginning, right? So if you have an ITIL certification, some of these should sound familiar to you. So these are incident management, service request fulfillment, knowledge management, change management, and the configuration management database, or CMDB. So we're going to go over each one of these, just to kind of remind you what they are, and all the classes this month are in reference to these processes. So if you're signed up for a knowledge management class, we're going to be looking at the knowledge management section of Cherwell more specifically during that class. So the first one, and probably the most important one in terms of your day-to-day work, is incident management. In ITIL terms, an incident is any kind of interruption to an IT service. I'm getting an error message back in my email, or I can't log in, or my printer catches on fire, something like that. That's an incident. It's an interruption to IT service. The point of incident management is just to restore that service as quickly as you possibly can, right? Get them back to whatever they need to use. About half or more of your tickets are going to be incidents like this. The other half are going to be service requests. And a service request is just any kind of other inquiry that a customer makes of an IT service team, but nothing is broken in this case. So they have a computer that works, but they want a better one. Or they can't log in, but it's not because anything is broken, it's just because they forgot their password. So they're going to request that we reset it so that they can log in again. Right? Those are all service requests. And the point of request fulfillment is just to manage those. Control them and make sure that we are answering them as quickly as we possibly can, and that our customers are happy. The rest of these are pieces that kind of support those first two. So knowledge management, when you think about knowledge, you can just think of any kind of article or how-to or document or anything that's related to providing services. And the point of knowledge management is to keep all that information in one place so that teams across the university can use it. So that if the SAIT support team figures out how to fix error code 590, they'll write a knowledge article about it, and now when the Technology Support Center gets a call about that same error code, they'll have access to that article. Right? Every single team will be able to share information. The next one is change management. In ITIL terms, a change is any sort of addition, modification, or removal of a service or something that could affect a service. And the point of change management is just to make sure that no services are affected, that customers don't lose access to what they expect to have. Good example of this, we are removing our current ITSMs, Magic and Altiris, and changing that to the new one, Cherwell, right? That's a change. And so if we had change management in place for this, we could track all that within Cherwell itself. Could do it from the time the change is proposed through the time it's built, tested, released all the way through. All the documentation would be in one place, etc. Then the last one is configuration management, and the heart of this is really the configuration management database, or the CMDB. And you can think of the CMDB as kind of an inventory on steroids, I guess. So it's just a big list of all the different technical assets that we have to use, that we use to provide services, and the dependencies between them. A related term here is this, what I have in parentheses, CIs, that stands for configuration items. Configuration item is the ITIL word for thing, basically. Okay, so a configuration item would be like this monitor, or the desktops you're using, or the individual applications on your desktops, or the network jacks that connect you to the internet, or the servers that support it. All that kind of stuff are considered, those are considered CIs, or configuration items, and those will all go into the CMDB. And the point of this is so that we know what's dependent on what. So if we have a server that goes down, we know which applications that server supports and which customers will be affected by an interruption in that service. So this is a monster, it's enormous, and it's also extremely useful because it helps us not only track our inventory but also track impact when our inventory fails. So there's one more term that you'll need to know. This is not a process or anything like that, but it is an important kind of ITIL term, and that's the service catalog. So the service catalog is just a giant list of all the services that every IT support team offers to all customers across campus. So each individual team has a list of services that they offer. We put all those in one place, and that's the service catalog. The reason this is important is because anytime you create an incident or a service request record, a ticket basically in the system, you need to classify it according to the service catalog. So you'll see a bunch of stuff in there about what service are you offering, what category within that service, what subcategory within that category. Every single time you create a ticket, we're matching it with something that we have put in our service catalog. So then the last thing here is about timeline. A lot of people wonder when this is going live. The first part of this, these three that are above the dotted line on the August side here, those are live right now. They went live on Monday. And although they're live, each individual team will kind of choose when they're going to start using it. Sort of a soft launch idea. The lower half of that, incident, request fulfillment, and the self-service portal, those are going to go live in September, probably late September-ish. We don't have an exact date yet. But those will be a hard cutover. So we're not going to all be using it at our own pace. It'll be one day we're using Magic or Altiris, the next day we're using Cherwell. And some people have asked, can I take tickets from Magic or Altiris and get them into Cherwell? And the answer is yes, but you do that via typing. You'll have to actually manually create any ticket you want to move over from one system to the other. There's no import feature. So those will be in September. By the way, this says CMDB Part 1 for the August. Yes, you have a question?
Those are all three happening at the same time.
Yeah, the question is, are they all three happening at the same time? Yes, they are all three happening at the same time. Those ones at the bottom. This first part of the CMDB that's going live in August, that's going to be what we're calling infrastructure CIs. So that's all of our servers and network jacks and enclosures and all that stuff that kind of supports our services. In November, we'll be going to part 2 of the CMDB, and that's going to be all the kind of endpoints. So the desktops and laptops and those sorts of things that users actually interact with. That's part 2. And there'll also be a couple other ITIL processes going live then, service level management and release management. And then there's going to be an integration with our SCCM software. That'll be in November. And then March of next year, we're going to be implementing problem management. The third part of the CMDB, which is going to include basically everything else that we didn't put in the first 2 parts. And then reservation manager. So does anyone here, are you part of a team that does equipment checkout of some kind? Okay. So reservation manager is an equipment checkout tool. So it lets people reserve equipment online and lets you track that kind of stuff. So those will be going live in March. And by the way, if you don't know what service level release management is or problem management, whatever, don't worry about it. You'll take a training then to explain what those are in more detail. And what you're looking at right now is called your dashboard. Okay, this is the Cherwell Dashboard. And this is designed to really be kind of a one-stop shop for you to find all the work that you need to do in one place. So you'll see here my status is the first one there along the top. So that says things like my new tasks, my team's records, my tickets with unread messages. You can just kind of read the labels as you go across from left to right there. There'll be widgets about your team status and about the global status. You also see down towards the bottom, right in the middle section here, we have a big long rectangle that says incidents and requests owned by me. So this is going to show you all the tickets that are assigned to you. So right now there are probably no tickets assigned to you in the system, so that's blank. But because I do have tickets assigned to me, I've got 3 up there. Right underneath that, you'll see 2 boxes. On the left it says tasks owned by me. The other one is tasks owned by my team. So a task is a new sort of thing in Cherwell that we don't really have in our current ITSMs. It's basically a way for you to ask another team for help without assigning them the whole ticket. So like you had a ticket, you needed AT apps to do something for you. You could just assign a task to that team rather than assigning the whole ticket, and then they would get that task in their dashboard, they'd complete it, they'd notify you it's completed, and then you can finish up whatever you need to do to resolve the ticket. We'll go over these more in detail during kind of the incidents and service request class, but just kind of an FYI that those are there. Now along the left-hand side, you'll see a bunch of links, and these are links to other dashboards. So if you would for me, go ahead and click on the Global IT link along the left-hand side. And that'll take you to the Global IT dashboard, which has a bunch of other widgets here, along with some graphs and other kinds of forms. This again can show you more information about kind of what's going on across campus. Cherwell will take you to a different place if you click on the number. So what I want you to do is double click on the 19 to the right of Global IT. And you'll see a list of search results. And this is called the Hyperlink View. So if you'll scan down there, you'll see things about, what the status of the tickets are, who created them, the description of them, the last date and time that they were edited, all that kind of stuff. There's another view you can have of these search results that I like better. Again, this is called the Hyperlink View. So to get to the other view, click on the View menu in the top left corner, 3rd from the left, and the 4th option down within View says Results in Grid. Click on that. And you'll see more of a column and row sort of view. So I like this one better because I can actually use the column headers to sort my results. So if I wanted to sort by priority, for example, I could click on the priority column header, and it'll arrange everything in alphabetical order for me. So again, if you want to reverse the alphabetical order, you just click the priority header again and it'll reverse it. So this is similar functionality to probably what you've used before in other systems. If you don't like how these columns are organized, you can also move them around. So if I wanted priority to be one of the first columns I saw along the left, I could click on the priority header and then just drag it to the left, and you'll see little double arrows pop open around each line showing you where you can drop this. And while you drag this around, wherever you put it, the system will remember that, and the next time you do a search, that'll be in the same spot. What I forgot to mention kind of at the front here is that what you're using right now is the desktop version of Cherwell. There's also a web version, so you can actually use Cherwell just using any kind of web browser. Do I have Mac users in the room? So you guys can only use the web version on your Macs. And it's pretty much the same as the desktop version, except that some of the kind of customization things that I'm going to show you today about customizing your dashboard, you can't do in the web version. So if you want to do that, you'd have to log on to a Windows machine, do it there, and then when you went to the web version, all your customizations would be there. But you can't actually complete the customization online. There's also a mobile app. I haven't really gotten a chance to look at it. That's not going live for this round, but it's kind of designed for any of you who do classroom support. You can kind of go in, use the mobile app to update your tickets rather than having to go back to your desk to use it. So again, this is the desktop client. So we've got went over kind of how to open this up, right? How to move these sort of columns around. What I want you to do is click on the incident header, column header, to sort everything by incident number. And then go ahead and go into the very first incident there, incident 1022. Just double click on it to open it up. And I'm going to show you how to sort of navigate around throughout incidents records. So this is an incident record. You can tell that by looking in the top left corner. You'll see a big blue header that says incident. And there's a bunch of stuff on here that I'm sure you're very interested in, and I'm going to cover almost none of it, okay, because we'll get to that in the incidents and service request class. So if you scroll down to the bottom, you're going to see at the towards the bottom left section of the main content pane, a header that says ITSM continuous improvement, and there's two, right now they're not linked, but you see one that says provide feedback and one that says feature request. Question? Yes?
It might start at 1025.
Okay, well that's probably okay in this case. So the way I got here is I just double clicked on one of the incident records. I clicked on the first one in my list, which is 1022. Someone said that the first one you're seeing is 1025. I'm not sure exactly why that's happening, but either one will work. So I'll actually go into 1025 here, and it doesn't matter where you guys are. You can kind of just follow along. So I went into 1025. You'll notice that 1025 is a service request, and you can see that by looking again in the upper left corner. Now it says request rather than incident, right? It's in weird little lime green there. Now on this record, you'll notice that, again, we're going to look in our ITSM continuous improvement section, and you'll see that now these are links, right? It says provide feedback and feature requests. And you'll see a little window pop open that says, please provide the details of your feedback. So the point of this link is for you to give feedback on Cherwell itself to that project team that controls changes to Cherwell. So if you're working tickets and you're like, oh, I really wish it would work this way instead of this other way, or I found an error message here, or there's a misspelling, or something like that, click on this provide feedback link and type in whatever your feedback is. Click OK, and that'll go to Carla, and she'll take that in front of the campus-wide team, and then they'll discuss changes. So this is the idea here is just to keep improving this over and over as much as we can. So please use this link, right, these two links, to communicate with the team what you think would be better about it. You'll also notice there's a feature request link, so that's specifically for things like, okay, I wish this widget existed and it doesn't, so could someone build this? Or I wish I had another tab down here that did X. So if you put it in provide feedback instead of feature request, it's probably not going to be a big deal, but just so you're aware. Okay, so that's one thing on this record I want to show you. The other one is not actually in the record itself. It's actually on the toolbar right above the record towards the right-hand side, but kind of in the middle of your screen. You're going to see a bunch of green arrows, and they'll say record, and then whatever number you're at of 21 in my case. I'm looking at the fourth record of 21 total records that were in my search results. Okay, it's just referring in this case to the number of records in your search results, not the number of records in the whole system. So you can actually quickly scan through each of those records by using these arrow buttons. So if you just click on the right arrow button, it'll say go to next record. Click on that, and you'll go to number 5, right? And you can just continue to click on these. You can go left and right, scanning through. So if you have a list of 5 or whatever, and you want to go into one and then just scan through them, you can do that using these green arrows. To the left of the green arrows, you're also going to see 2 buttons. Each of the buttons has like 3 rectangles, one blue, one yellow, one red. Right now, the one that's highlighted, if you mouse over it, you'll see it says show current record. So you're looking at an individual record view. To get back to your kind of grid or search result view, you can click on this button right to the left of that. If you mouse over it, it says show results. You click on that, you're going to go back to your grid view. So you can go in and out of the search view using those buttons along the top. You can also use, along the far left side, you'll see a button that says back. And this works just like the back button in your browser. So if you click on the back button for me, you go back to wherever you were previously. And once you click on it, now you'll notice the forward button is activated. And so you can move back and forward the same way you would in a browser. To the right of the forward button, you'll also notice a home button. So go ahead and click on the home button. And that'll take you back to your default dashboard. So anytime you want to get back, just click home and you'll go home. Questions on that stuff? So that's just kind of navigating through all the different records, how to get around. All those buttons are going to show up pretty much no matter what you're looking at throughout the system. So it'll be the same with knowledge articles, change records, whatever. Odds are, though, you're probably not going to want to go into the entire giant list of every single ticket throughout campus and then manually scan through them all, looking for what you want. Okay? So you have a couple ways to get to more specifically the tickets you want to work. Either it'll show up in your dashboard, or you can use the quick search. So along the left-hand side, this is called your task pane along the left. The first box in there is called quick search. And you'll notice that the first button in there is actually a drop-down list. Mine right now says search incident. If you click on that drop-down list, you'll see other things you can search for in the system. So you can use this quick search to look for change requests or configuration items, knowledge articles, incidents, whatever. Although this says incident right here, this really is referring to both incidents and service requests. So all tickets, essentially, will be searchable using the incident option there. So I'm going to leave it as incident. And then what I want you guys to do is in the search field, type in the word Redbird. And then you can hit go or hit the enter button on your keyboard, whatever you want to do. So you've just searched the whole global IT list for the word Redbird, and you've gotten 5 results. Okay, and you'll notice that one of them, the bottom there, is a service request, even though you picked incident. If you had done this, let's say you had searched for a printer or something, right, and maybe you've got 50 results. You can actually further narrow those down by searching within the results that you already have. So to do that, click on the More link, which is directly below the Go button along the left-hand side there. And the quick search pane will expand out, and you'll see a couple more options. So the first one is the Changed drop-down menu. If you click on that, this allows you to restrict the results based on when the records were last changed. So you can say, show me only records that have been changed today, or within the last week, last month, etc. Right below that, the second option there is the Sort By drop-down menu. So by default, it's going to sort it by relevance. But if you wanted to sort it by another sort of field, you'll see a giant list of fields you can sort by here. Typically, I don't use that because I use the column headers and just double-click those to sort the way I want them to. But if you wanted to sort by some sort of more obscure field, you could do that here. And then the last option there right underneath the Sort By drop-down menu, you'll see a checkbox that says Search Within Existing Results. Click on that checkbox. And as soon as you click on that checkbox, you've just changed your search parameters from the entire global IT list to just those 5 that you see in your search results. So the next search that you do will only search those 5 results. So go ahead and get rid of Redbird for me in the search field and type in the word robot. And you'll notice when you search again, it'll go down from 5 records to 4. And you can do this as many times as you need to narrow this down. So go ahead and get rid of the word robot again for me and put in the word toilet. And then click go. And you'll be down to 2 results. So you can keep doing this as often as you want, as many times as you need to actually get down to what you're looking for. Now this search field here is not Google, okay? It's not going to intelligently figure out what you want and then suggest things for you. It's much more just going to search the results for exactly what you type in. So if you make a misspelling or something, it's probably not going to catch it. Type something in and you expect a bunch of results and you don't see anything, you want to just check your spelling, make sure that you got the right thing in there. Let's say that you find yourself searching for Redbird robot toilet constantly. So you're always searching for it because it's always relevant to your job. And you're tired of typing it in 3 times and narrowing down your results. You can actually save this search so that it's only 1 or 2 clicks away, so that you don't have to keep typing it in every time. So to do that, the first thing you're going to do is actually perform the search that you want to save, just like we did. And you'll notice along the top, right above your search results, you'll see a couple sentences that describe to you what this search is. It says incidents containing the text Redbird that are active, that contain robot, that contain toilet. That's the search that you're performing here. So as soon as that group of sentences says what you want it to, as soon as it describes the search you want to save, then go up to your searching menu, which is 4th from the left along the top. And the 4th option within searching says Save Current Search As. So select that. And a new window will open up. It'll ask you to name this search. So you'll want to name this something descriptive because you'll have to select the search by name. So I'm going to put in Redbird Robot Toilet as my name. And then you can describe this in more detail if you want. Right underneath the description, you'll see the search type. So it's saying this search is searching incidents, and again that includes service requests. And then right underneath the search type you'll see the scope, and this says user, which means that you are the only one who will be able to access this search. It's specific to your user. Then down at the bottom you'll see a bunch of kind of logical statements about what this search is actually doing. So this is identical essentially to those sentences that I showed you earlier, but this is in kind of more of a logic form. Some people have asked, can I edit this logic or put or statements in here rather than and statements? And the answer is yes, you can do that. I don't really have time to go over how to do that today, but you can kind of play around with it on your own, or you can use the help documentation I'm going to show you later to figure out how to do that. So once this says what you want it to, click the OK button, and your search is now saved. So to use it, what I want you guys to do is go back home. So click on your home button in the top left corner to go back to your default dashboard. And now there's a couple ways to access it. So go ahead and click on the searching menu again. Again, fourth from the left along the top. And you'll notice that for me, because I just used Redbird Robot Toilet, it's the first one in my list of recently used searches right underneath all the other options. So you can just click it there, or if it's not in your recently used searches, click on the Search Manager, which is the first option in searching, and the Search Manager will open up. And you'll notice that there are 4 folders along the left-hand side here: Global, Team, Role, and User. Each of these folders will contain saved searches. Well, some of them may not, but that's the idea. And each of those saved searches are accessible to each of the kind of audience levels that those folders indicate. So anything in the Global folder is accessible to everyone across campus. Anything in the Team folder is accessible to your team. Anything in the Role folder is accessible to your role. And in the User folder, it's just accessible to you. So remember, when we saved this, it told us this is going to go in our User folder. So to access your saved search, click on that User folder, first folder there, and you'll see your saved search right there, Redbird Robot Toilet. And to run it, you can just click it and click the Run button, or just double click it. And then it'll run, and you'll get the same results. Notice above your search results, it now has the description that you typed in, rather than all the different field names and things that you typed in earlier. Questions on that? So you can save searches for incidents, knowledge articles, change records, anything you want. Works the same way. The next thing I want to show you then is how to modify your dashboard. So go back home again for me if you would. And a lot of you notice, first of all, that the color scheme on mine is probably different than yours. So the default color scheme is like kind of a black and grayish thing that I didn't like. So I changed mine. So if you want to do that, just simply right-click anywhere on the dashboard. And you'll see the second option in the right-click menu is User Theme. And if you mouse over that, it'll have a bunch of different options there for you. So this will allow you to change the color of everything. They have sort of suggested ones you can use. The only one I really liked was earth tones, so that's the one that I picked. All right, so what you're looking at right now is your My Work dashboard, and this is by default everyone's home page when they first log into Cherwell. But you can change this and you can modify it to something else if you want. So to do that, there are 3 different steps. You have to first of all copy the dashboard into your User folder. You have to modify the dashboard, and then you have to set that new dashboard as your new default. So we're going to go through each of those. So the first step, you're going to go up to your Dashboards menu along the top. That's third from the right. And I want you to click on Dashboard Manager, the first option in there. And again, we just were at the Search Manager. Now we're in the Dashboard Manager. And this is identical to the Search Manager. So you'll notice the same folders along the left: Global, Team, Role, User. And again, each of those folders will have, in this case, dashboards that are accessible to everyone across campus, just your team, just your role, or just you. So to modify your dashboard, you have to first copy it from the Global folder to your User folder so that you can edit it, because it doesn't allow you to edit things in the Global folder. So to find it, go ahead and open up your Dashboards folder within the Global. So it's the first folder within Global. Click on Dashboards. And then open up Default Dashboards, again the first one. And you'll see all the different dashboards listed along the left-hand side are showing up right here in this right-hand side in your Dashboard Manager. So you're going to copy the My Work dashboard. So you can either right-click it and choose Copy, or click it and hit Control-C, whatever you want to do. And you're going to paste that into your User folder. So click on your User folder, and then put in Paste. And there's My Work. So you can, once you've pasted this, you'll want to rename it, right? Because you don't want to, you need to distinguish between these two based on the name, and you don't want to get it confused with the Global one. So to rename it, just select it and hit F2 on your keyboard, or right-click it and choose Rename, which is fourth from the bottom there, and then name it whatever you want. I'm going to put in My Training Work. Then you're going to need to edit it. So we've already completed the first step, right? Copied into our user folder. Now we need to edit the dashboard. So to do that, just select it, click it once, not double click it because that'll open it up. And then along the left-hand side, in kind of the upper left corner of your dashboard manager, you'll see a little pencil icon that if you mouse over it, it says Edit Current Dashboard. Click on that. And a new window will open up that'll have your dashboard manager. So this should look identical to your dashboard right now, except it has kind of fake numbers in there. So all these different things on here, all these different widgets, you can edit. So you can click on it, right? Click on the My Tickets with Unread Messages, and you'll notice it highlights. So you can click and drag this somewhere else if you want. If you don't like what you just did, you can undo things. So you can hit Control-Z, or there's a arrow button along the right-hand side of your toolbar, blue arrow button pointing left. So you can undo things that way. You can resize these. So once you click on it, you'll notice there are little black squares that pop up on either side. So you can click and drag these to resize it. You'll notice if you click on it and move the widget that the label does not move with it because these are separate items in your dashboard. So to move them both at the same time, click on one and then hold down the Control key on your keyboard and then click on the other. And you'll notice now they're both selected. And if you click and move them, they'll move as a unit. So this is similar to the same way Microsoft Word works or PowerPoint or whatever you're used to using. So you can move things around like this. You can delete widgets. So if you don't want one on here, you can just select it and then hit the delete key on your keyboard. And then again, if you want it back, undo that.
How do you do undo?
So you can either hit Control and Z on your keyboard, or there's a blue arrow button up here at the top that says undo. Now if you hit undo when you delete something, you'll notice on my screen that the thing I deleted is back, but it's now in front of my label. It's kind of a little glitch there. So if I wanted to move it behind my label, I would select it, click on it, and then you'll notice in the second toolbar, on the far right side of that second toolbar, there are two buttons. Each of those buttons has three rectangles. Two of them are white and black. One of them is yellow. So these actually allow you to move things forward and back in reference to other objects. So if I want to send this to the back, I would click on the rightmost one, and now my label is back in front. So you can move stuff. You can delete it. You can resize it. You can change the color. You can also change the actual label itself. So if I want this not to say My Status, I would click on the label. And in the upper left corner, you'll see a text field that also says My Status. So you can then delete the text here and put whatever you want in. So, I don't know, My Tasks and Records, whatever. And you'll notice that as I type, because my text is larger than the size of the label field, I actually have to expand this out so that I can see the whole thing. All right, so the other thing you can do here is actually add widgets. So if you look along the left-hand side, you'll see a big list of widgets here, and you'll see our familiar folders listed out there. User, team, role, global, top-level folders. Again, these are going to contain widgets that are accessible to each of those groups. So I'm going to show you how to put one of these in here. We're not going to do all of them because there's a ton. But it would probably be worth your time to spend 10 or 15 minutes when you first log in and kind of go through the widgets and look at them and see if there's anything you might find useful there. So what I want you to do is open up the self-service folder. Okay, that's the last folder within Global. You can double click on it, or you can click the little triangle button to the left of it to expand it out. And then you'll see the second from the bottom there, you'll see a little RSS icon and a label that says Tech Alerts. So we're going to add the Tech Alerts widget to our dashboard. So to do that, simply click, hold it, and then drag it onto your dashboard editor, and you'll see the little widget pop over there. Now be aware, right, there's a default sort of shape here that's a square, but depending on the content that you have, you may want to resize this. So this is going to be text. It's going to be, you know, all the different tech alerts that are going to show up. So I want this to be bigger, so I'm going to actually move it over to the right under my global status, and then I'm going to expand it out. So that's larger. So once you've made all your changes, you've got what you want to do, you're going to click on the OK button in the bottom right corner, and your changes will be saved. So that's step 2, right? Step 1 is copy it to a user folder. Step 2 is make whatever changes you want. The last step is to actually set it as your new default. So to do that, you first have to open it. So you can open it up either by double-clicking on it or clicking it once and then choosing OK, whichever one you want. So double-click on it to open. And now you'll notice that on my dashboard, if I scroll to the right, I've got the RSS feed for tech alerts showing up here. So I can click on that link. It'll open up a new window for me if I want to go there to the main web page. Now, if you hit the home button at this point, you would still go back to the global My Work dashboard. So you must set this as your new home. And there are 2 different ways to do that. You can either go up to your dashboards menu along the top, again, third from the right, click on dashboards, and then click on the third option there, set, and then whatever name you gave it, dashboard as default. Then it'll say, are you sure you want to do this? Hit yes. Okay, or the other way is to just right-click anywhere in the dashboard, and the last option in the right-click menu says the same thing, set this dashboard as my default. So once you've done that, now anytime you click the home button, it'll take you back to this new dashboard. So I'll just show you real quick, right? I can go into my incidents records and then click home. And now I'm back to my new dashboard. Question?
So we were editing My Work within our dashboard, but could we go in and edit the layout of the other screens as well? Would that change those screens?
So they would not. So the question was, if I go in and copy, let's say I copy the CMDB dashboard to my user folder, and then make changes to that in my user folder and then save it, it will not change what you see when you click on the CMDB link. Okay, that'll still be the global one, but you can access that new modified one through your dashboard manager. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Follow up to that.
Yes.
Is there a way to add a link to my modified CMDB dashboard on the left there underneath the regular list?
So the question was, is there a way I can add a link to my modified dashboard, let's say my modified CMDB dashboard along the left? Not to my knowledge. So if that's something that you want, what should you do?
Feature request.
Yes, exactly. Use feature requests and suggest that to the group. So that's a perfect example of something that, if that's something you want, use feature requests to ask for it. And if the tool can do it, and then, it sounds like something that the project team that people across campus would find useful, they'll implement it. Other questions? Yes?
So in the edit view, how do you know what these numbers are? I mean, you have a title, but you can move the titles around and you can move the numbers around. How do you know what number means?
The question was, how do I know on my dashboard editor what the numbers actually refer to? So the idea would be that you have moved a widget from the left side into that center section. So that widget that you moved on there should be labeled correctly to tell you what that number would be. So, but you'll want to put a label on it, quickly so you don't kind of forget what that is. We're going to cover 2 more things. Okay, the first one is going to be reports. So again, like with widgets and like with dashboards and like with searches, there's lots of delivered reports that you can access. And to access those, you're going to go up to your Tools menu, second from the right along the top. And you're going to choose the 4th option down there, says Reports. If you mouse over that, you'll see another set of options, and the first one there says Report Manager. So click on Report Manager. So we went to our Search Manager, we went to our Dashboard Manager. Now this is our Report Manager. Same set of options, same folders, Global, Team, Role, and User. So within the Global folder, what I want you to do is we're going to open one of these up. Double click on the CSM Management Reports folder. That's the first folder within Global. To open that up. And then some of these reports haven't been working correctly, so we're going to go ahead and choose Incidents by Category, which is in the far right column, 3rd row. So double click on Incidents by Category to run it. And Cherwell will pretend for a second that you didn't tell it anything, and you'll be like, hey Cherwell, I told you to run this report. And then you'll get a prompt window that'll pop open asking you for a date. So every time you run a report, you'll have to select a date range. So go ahead and put in August 1st as your start date for me. And then click OK. And then the end date will immediately appear, and go ahead and put in the 31st, August 31st for your end date. And then click OK. And Cherwell will have kind of a brief seizure, and then hopefully the report will open up. Everybody see this? So this will have a bunch of the big graph kind of along the top, and then if you scroll down the report, you'll see the individual listings representing each of these. So this incidents by category, by the way, refers to that service catalog that I told you about, right? Every time you create a ticket or incident or service request, you have to categorize it based on the service catalog. And so these are all the service catalog categories, right? Campus-wide applications, desk phone, ISU computer accessories, etc. You'll also notice at the top, right above the title, you'll see the date range this is looking at. It says the 17th to the 19th. We put in the 1st to the 31st. Okay, but there's no data other than in the 17th to the 19th, and so it's only going to show us that range of data. Now you can save this report if you want, right? If you look in the top left corner, you'll see a save button. If you click on the file menu, also in the top left corner, you'll see you can print this. You can also export this. That's third from the bottom in the file menu. And if you mouse over export, it'll show you all the different file types you can export. So if you wanted to take 3 different reports, export them all to Excel, and then put them all together, you could do that. And then right underneath export, you'll see send via email, and it's the same kind of deal. So you can send this as a particular file type to another person. So again, take some time, if you're interested in reporting, or if it's something that you think will be useful, to go through all the delivered ones, figure out if they're going to meet your needs, and if not, you can always request to have a new one created for your team or your role or whatever.
So we're not able to write our own group reports?
So the question is, can we write our own reports? It'll depend on access, so I can't really say that blanketly for everyone. Some people may have access to write their own reports, some people might not. So go ahead and close this down, click the X, and then you can close this report manager as well. The last thing we're going to look at is help documentation. So where do I find how to use this thing if I forget everything Jordan told me? The first one is the delivered Cherwell help. So to access that, just click on the help link here on the top right, the far right side of the top menu options, and click on the first option within help that says contents. And you'll get a new browser window that'll open up that'll take you to the Cherwell Service Management help site. So there's videos in here, there's a forum you can access, there's a support portal, there's all kinds of stuff. If you want to follow Cherwell on Twitter, you can do that from here. There's also a search menu in the upper right corner that allows you to search for things. And then along the left-hand side, you'll see a big kind of contents index that you can kind of browse through. So I'm going to just show you one example here. I'm going to go into record management, incident service request, logging incidents, and there's log and incident detailed. And so you can pick whatever one you want, but you'll notice whatever one you pick will have sort of step-by-step instructions, screenshots, tips, notes, all that kind of stuff. And you'll notice as you go through, the screenshots aren't going to be exactly like ours because we modified the defaults, but they're pretty close. And if there's something particularly that I didn't cover in training that you want to know how to do, this is a good place to start. Okay, knowledge management in Cherwell itself. So there's actually already documents in there in the live environment explaining different aspects of Cherwell. So to access the knowledge management within there, right, we can use our same quick search along our left-hand side. In our drop-down menu, rather than choosing incident, we can choose knowledge article, second from the bottom, and then search whatever you want, right? Search for Cherwell, and then click go. And you'll see there's a bunch of them that actually are already in here as well. And these, Carla wrote these, and these are going through and explaining what each of those different services in the service catalog are about. So if you want to know more about accounts and security, right, you could double click on that and you'll see a bunch of information about accounts and security. And this will continue to expand as we kind of get more time to put stuff in. All right, any questions on anything I've covered so far? So we talked about basic terminology, we talked about timeline, we talked about logging in, searching for stuff, saving searches, and navigating through records. We looked at modifying your dashboard, we looked at reports, and then we looked at help. Clear on all that? so far? Cool. So let me do some reminders then. So just remember, when you want to toggle between that hyperlink view and your grid view, go up to that view menu in the top left corner and select results in grid. You can search within existing results to create advanced searches, so just make sure you click that checkbox in the quick search menu to do that. You can save your searches to use them later. So when you save them, of course, give them a name and description. And then finally, remember that whenever you want to change your dashboard, you have to copy it into your user folder first before you edit it. And we'll go ahead and end there. And this is the email address for AT training. So if you email this, it'll go to everyone on the training team for any questions you might have.